And finally, there is management of the product line effort. Management at the level of what we call technical management. So, for example, the person in charge of core asset development or product development. So these are the people who take care of the local details of getting a product out within schedule and within budget, and getting a core asset to product development in time to meet the product development needs, and making sure that any bugs that escape from product or from core asset development into product development are caught in product development, and that there's a feedback mechanism from product development to core asset development, and in fact that you can even trace when problems arise whether or not they're in the product specific components or the generalized core assets. And then above that level of management we have the big ticket items for your product line manager, like what's an appropriate funding model for this product line organization. And if you're an organization that can only get money by attaching work to a customer-specific product, and I see you're nodding there, how are you going to get money to fund something that is going to benefit multiple customers, not just the one customer? How do you know whether the organizational structure you have in place right now is sufficient for product lines, and what changes need to be made? And do you have the authority to make those changes? Do you have the authority to create a new funding model for the organization? Rewarding employees appropriately. You know, when the product is successfully delivered and there's a big party and people get tickets to the ball game, what about the people in core asset development if you're structured into a two-part organization? Are they going to be rewarded? They were not on the specific product development team, but they contributed a significant number of the assets used in that product development effort. So are they going to get the tickets to the ball game or the invitations to the party? Yes, exactly. Toss out the first ball.
They didn't have the product line.
And who's responsible for coming up with an adoption plan for your particular organization? So, for example, if you're a large organization structured into multiple business units, the goal might be we will create a proof of concept product line within one business unit first, and if we succeed in that business unit, then we will see about spreading it to the other business unit. And who's following up on all that, and who's being proactive about enlisting the support of the other business unit managers if they're going to be affected by this. And so how do you launch this whole effort in a way that makes most sense for your organization? And then how do you institutionalize it so that it becomes routine practice within the organization? These responsibilities are so important that we identify a role called the product line champion. It's typically the product line manager, but in at least one case it has been the product line architect with support from upper level management. So the product line champion is the one who is going to be there for the long haul, who can sell this idea up and down the management chain, who can show by leadership how it's done, who can get the cooperation of the various organizational units that have to play a role in this product line effort, and who will be there in good times and bad. And believe me, there will be bad times. When you are going down the path of product lines, there will be occasions when you will wonder, what were we smoking when we started this, and why did we ever believe the SEI when they said you have a fair shot at doing this? So the champion is a very important role in product lines, and you do need to have somebody, or if that somebody is not going to be around for the duration, you need to have a succession plan in place. Because we have seen cases where product line champion was in place for the launching phase of the product line, but for the institutionalization phase, that person got promoted to a higher, different part of the organization, and the new person coming in really wasn't as interested in product lines as the previous person, and the whole thing just withered away. Actually, with that particular customer, we're now seeing some signs that they may be revisiting product lines, but for a long time, product lines just sort of withered away.
Particularly like military organizations with the heavy turnover.
Yeah, that's a particular problem for our government customers, and so far we don't have a good solution. Yeah, it's if you're in it for a relatively short-term tour of duty and you were tasked with getting up a system in place or a would-be product line in place that's going to benefit the next guy, then that's not much of an incentive for you unless somehow the reward structure is such that you will be rewarded for setting the mechanism in place to benefit future people. But so far, we haven't seen that. Yeah. So, who's next and who's the successor to this? So that's why we have a practice area called launching and institutionalizing. It's not just a matter of getting started. It's a matter of continuing. And in particular for our military customers, the dollars that help you get started aren't necessarily the same dollars or the same funding stream that will allow you to continue. And you need to be aware of that. Don.
And of course, in the commercial side of things, you've got so how are you improving this quarter's results?
Yes, the focus on the next quarterly return is a real product line killer. Once you're up and running as a product line, you can focus on the next quarterly return.
Which gets to where that payback point is.
Yes. Yeah, back to your payback point and back to your business case. And if you don't set expectations properly, and the people in charge and the people funding this expect that you're going to have a product out the door as a member of the product line in the next quarter, they need to have their expectations recalibrated, because it's unlikely that that's going to be the case. So your product line team needs to have a cross-organizational set of people with skills in all of the areas of core asset development, product development, and management. It's unlikely that all of these skills are going to be embodied in a single person. So you're going to have a team, and you're going to have management discipline for that team at multiple levels in the product line organization. And if you're an organization that's creating a totally new product line, you may have the luxury of adopting a proactive approach, which is create the core assets first and then the products. But more typical for organizations, it's the reactive approach. We already have some products in the marketplace, or we have some existing artifacts in the organization that could be the basis of a product line, so we will use those as our starting point. But whichever way you go, start small. Try to get a product out the door with a subset of the core asset base first, and then grow the core asset base incrementally and add to the list of products. Do not try to change the entire organizational culture around to product lines in one big bang. The last thing you want is a directive from the CEO that says, January 1st, we're going to become a product line organization. You really need to think seriously about the implications and the risks, which is why we advocate starting small and doing a pilot project as a risk reduction exercise first. So that was our quick look at the 3 essential activities of a software product line. And in the succeeding modules, we'll be looking at subsets of the practice areas that are the foundation for the essential activities. One quick question for you here is the middle one here. This dilemma of choosing between the health of your product line and maintaining the vision that was set for your product line and the production of a specific product and being responsive to the needs of a customer for a specific product. How would you tell if you were doing one thing or another, favoring the product line versus favoring the specific customer or the specific product?
Certainly if you're reacting to revenue projections and feature content of the products, to respond to perceived revenue models that the sales and
Yeah.
folks are putting together. But only if we had this feature would we be able to increase our revenue.
Yeah. And so you're looking at tackling it on a per product basis as opposed to we need to analyze this with respect to our overall product line vision. So yeah, that would be a telltale sign that you are focusing on product specific, customer specific needs.
I can tell you from personal experience, Oracle 11i came about because of changes in the organization I worked for in the Air Force to its 10 series that were well beyond the expectations of what was modifiable. And they actually took what we did and made it part of the core 11i product. But there was some debate that, well, why would you do that? And we showed them why we would use their extensions the way we did, and they went back and debated whether or not it became part of the 11i.
So this is a slightly different case then, where, so you actually...
We influence the core.
You influence what goes on in the core, yeah. And that's a good thing if you can make the case that what you've done for this specific product will benefit the core and will benefit more than that specific product.
So what about looking at people doing the maintenance, seeing how much additional support they need besides what's there from the product line guidance?
Yeah.
Is it too late?
Yeah, and also if you end up favoring customer-specific or product-specific approaches over the core asset, you've got the clone and own maintenance nightmare. But if you're not at the level of the organization looking at these overall product line costs and you're narrowly focused on, we can add this feature to you for your specific product, then you're missing the big picture and you're losing the overall product line vision.